What's up, everyone? Welcome to the Future of Real Estate Podcast. I'm your host, Ellis Hammond. You ever heard of the Metaverse? Well, today I have the creator of the #1 Metaverse on the Wax blockchain, Mr. Daniel Knott, who is the co-founder of Immersys. And it is exactly what that is. It is a immersive world on the internet. And what's super interesting about today's conversation is we're talking about how to own commercial real estate, its benefits inside the metaverse. Don't write it off. This is a revenue generating investment, but you'll be surprised. A guy who's developing a metaverse and a metaverse world and literally sells these assets, what he thinks and when he thinks is the best time to start investing in real estate in the metaverse. I think you're really going to enjoy this show, regardless if you are a metaverse user. Maybe you're just an average real estate investor. I say average, an ordinary real estate investor where you haven't got into this yet. I think you're really going to like this. So let's get into the show. Daniel, man, welcome to the show.
Thanks so much for having me.
Dude, really excited to have you on here. One of our first episodes of the Future Real Estate Podcast show. And the reason I started this, man, is, and I'd love to hear your input on this, is for, these circles that you and I swim in, you're kind of in this metaverse. And I'd be curious actually how much crypto and the blockchain influences your work as well. But then I swim in this real estate circle, right? Yeah. I mean, and we kind of talked about this a little bit already. If they have seemed to be so different, right? Where almost two groups of people, two different worlds of thought. But I see rapidly how fast these things are coming together. And I want to first get your take on that. And I want to jump into what you're building in the metaverse and how that's coming together. But just from a 30,000 foot view, man, give me your thought on how rapidly these two worlds are coming together, and then even how you see them, maybe this idea of like they've been separate, but they're coming together. What's your take on that?
Yeah, I think you're going to see it come from multiple, almost ways in a way. So I think you're going to first see the tokenization of real estate. So in the form of maybe a house or a building or maybe even an entire city, almost being tokenized in this non-fungible way. We're seeing this being done already over in China. Somebody's already working on creating an entire, 1-to-1 ratio of a metaverse virtual world of their current city and tokenizing that and selling, the buildings and the locations. So basically creating these 1-to-1 verifiable digital assets of these commercial, residential properties in a virtual world. And then you have the whole other, side of virtual properties in a metaverse landscape like ourselves. So this is simply just digital property. It exists only in this one world, in this one, virtual world where people can go visit, participate in it as if it's like a game in a way, but then also have, a place that they actually own in a digital way that they can go ahead and visit and set up and design and also sell at the same exact time. There's value that's built into it.
For those because I'm sure there's plenty, again, man, the reason this show, and you got to be patient, right, is that these worlds have swim in two different lanes. So like a lot of what we're doing is educating, right? And saying, okay, let's bridge this gap a little bit to what we're doing. So let me ask you maybe what might be a dumb question in your world, but probably an often question, frequent question I'll ask in our world is, why not just like, what would be the value of that? Could you not just go build that on a different platform or a different metaverse per se? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like what because there's only one Times Square, what I mean? There's only one Lincoln, center, like, but could there be multiple
Absolutely
on the metaverse? And how do you really know what's a value and what's not?
Yeah. So I think you have to think of it as, possibly a marketing opportunity. Like you're not going to buy, a land next to the gutter and the train tracks and a busy road, right? You're more likely to buy the real estate in the secluded or the city, depending on where you want your location to be. So definitely there's going to be multiple metaverses that you can purchase virtual land in. I don't think one of them is going to dominate this space at all. Metaverses kind of come in all different types of forms. You can have it browser-based. You can have more of a desktop application. You can have VR-based metaverses. So there's different ways of experiencing a digital real estate in a way. And I think you'll see that people will want to have spaces in multiple locations. To be honest, people already do hold, virtual land or virtual real estate in multiple metaverses, because it just lowers the risk for them. First off, they're definitely not going to miss the mark if they're buying into, different locations. So whether you're buying into our metaverse or a Decentraland or a Sandbox, these are some of those bigger, more popular landscape metaverses out there. You're less likely to miss the boat in a way.
Right.
You will have this permanent location that kind of you can do what you like with it, whether you want to take it as, an advertising opportunity for you to, maybe recreate your storefront or recreate your website in a 3D world. So you can do commercial, real estate to anything that you really want.
So what about this, Ready Player, this idea of I became a fan of this, reading Ready Player One. I'm like, this is the future right here, man. It's kind of crazy to see how some of this is playing out. I mean, is there ever a world and where we're in one metaverse? Do you think it would be like the Facebook kind of popularity where people just adopt a single platform? I mean, is that, what's your take on that?
I find it hard to believe that only one metaverse rules it. I really do. I think what you will see is kind of these little like niche metaverses pop up. I think you're going to gravitate to what is most familiar to you or what neighborhood you want to live in a way. So yeah, I don't see it ever getting to just one world. I think you are going to kind of enjoy a certain way of experience the metaverse. I think things are going to just naturally become more like digital, like your experiences. You'll just decide to go to certain places to experience certain things. I also think just the centralization versus decentralized aspect of it is going to play a huge role. It's probably more profitable to invest in a centralized platform than a decentralized platform from an investor standpoint right away, because they're more profit driven. They probably have investors, where a decentralized thing is going to be much more autonomous, and you don't really know what's going to happen in that space. It's a little bit more Wild West in a way.
Let's talk about that, man, because if you guys don't know me, Daniel is the co-founder of and CEO of Immersys, which is proclaims the #1 metaverse project on the Wax blockchain. It's a decentralized virtual world focused on building the next generation of entertainment, real estate, and gaming. So tell me why you went decentralized versus centralized, and kind of the difference of those two for me and the audience.
So centralized is sort of what you're dealing with on a daily basis in the internet space or the digital space already, right? Where you have accounts and you're participating in an ecosystem of applications. So whether we're participating on a Zoom call like this, or we're having a Google Hangout, or we're visiting in a Google Space or something like that, or a Facebook Space or the Horizon. Those are all accounts that are owned inside of a centralized system or platform.
Right.
So that means that if they decide that they don't want to allow it, or they don't want you on that platform anymore, they can simply ban your account. And then anything that you were paying for, which you were most likely paying in a subscription form and you never actually owned in the first place, would be removed, and you would no longer kind of exist in their centralized platform. Where a decentralized platform, that is less likely to occur. Obviously, I like to say it's not what is a metaverse, it's more of like how metaverse are you, because you can kind of, there's lots of layers to what the metaverse is. And I think as you get more decentralized, you'll notice that a lot of what you own in the space is actually in your possession, and it's transferable, and the platform has no control over those assets. So once you own that real estate, it's in your wallet. They can't take it back. They can't take you or remove you from that platform. Anything that you contribute to the space exists in there, and it really just can't be altered is the thing. It's verifiable, it's authentic, and it's untouchable in a way. So
as a
that's kind of the
CEO
difference.
or as a founder, as you're building this, I mean, that I don't know. I feel like as a CEO, like you kind of want control. You want to, control the way things are progressing or building and moving. In some ways, you kind of do the opposite in building a decentralized virtual world. I mean, explain to me the thought process there.
Yeah, so I do think it does take a little, like a second to think about it, because you're right. When like initially you're looking for all like trying to build capital and having control and basically playing this role of deciding the fate of the company. Where
Right.
in a decentralized space, you do notice like people will be able to kind of have control over stuff that you literally cannot take back once it's in their hands. It's once they have possession of it, it's theirs, and you kind of have to work around that in a way. So yeah, I think it's a change. It's almost like a rebellion against the norm, I guess, in a way. It does feel like that in a way. Yeah, at times where you're just kind of doing the exact opposite of what everybody would expect you to want to be doing. But at the same time, I think it is the better alternative, right? So I don't see a world where I would prefer what we have right now versus the world of a decentralized world. I see the technology eventually being better. I see it being more profitable for you and I. It just in the big picture, if it does get massively adopted, and I think we will have this fight that will occur eventually, where does it actually exist, or do they kind of shut it all down on us? And I don't think that ends up happening. So I just see it just naturally happening, and it's better to be in, while it's early.
Well, I mean, it seems like that it's being, it makes sense, right? I mean, the fact that, in order, even the idea of like sending money, if I want to go send you money, you have to have Zelle and I have to have Zelle, or you have to have Venmo and I have to have Venmo, where, I do think, as with the creation of crypto and the blockchain, different things, like once people get used to this idea of like, man, I don't want to be owned by this platform, or I don't want to be owned by this product. I want to be able to do as I wish. Like that infiltrates into more and more different sectors, right? I think to be an early adopter of this is wise. The only problem is you got to survive long enough
Sure.
to,
Sure.
to enjoy the fruit of that. However long that takes for this to adopt. Because right now you're right. I mean, everything we do is pretty much inside of a centralized platform. I mean, I can't think of even Zoom right now. I mean, you had to come into Zoom for us to record this, and I
Yep.
can't think of another way for us to be able to do this outside of that.
Exactly. And I think as we get more platforms, like I know that there's already streaming platforms that are completely decentralized. You run a node on your computer, you're earning crypto as you're streaming, and that's kind of that value. I like to think of crypto as almost like these like reward points. They're air miles, right? They're like these coupons that are redeemable for other non-fungible items, essentially is how it ends up working. So you cash in your air miles, which is the crypto, for an airplane ticket, and that's the value. And if you don't have enough airline points or air miles, you actually can buy it using USD. So let's say you have 500 airline miles and you need 1,000 airline miles to get that ticket. That's what gives the airline miles value, is the fact that you're able to exchange USD for those airline miles to actually purchase what you want. And that's how I kind of see, and that's why we approach people getting into our metaverse from an entertainment or gaming perspective. I think that's another important thing to have when you're looking at virtual real estate, is what's going to bring people into the metaverse in the first place, right? If it's just simply to own land and just advertise, nobody wants to be, just living in a virtual world where they're being constantly a product of marketing, right? Like they're just sitting there and just consuming ads all day. That's not going to retain a player. So we approach it in a way where you can earn, real world value just playing the game. We provide a game world where you play the game. Other people need the items that you're gaining inside the world, so they're paying and exchanging. We're creating an economy that's being built, so you can actually earn the money in the game, then go to somebody's property that's maybe
give me an
selling
example.
stuff.
Give me an example. Like how would I mean, this makes sense. I'm like, that's pretty much how life works. Like I go throughout my day and I create products that people want to pay for. So give me an example of how this works in your metaverse.
A perfect example of it in our metaverse is we do take on the role of almost like an MMO RPG. So if you've ever played one, it's very common for you to just grind out items. So you can chop down a tree, get a log, and that log is going to now be in the form of an NFT. So this is a non-fungible token. This is going directly to somebody's wallet, and this non-fungible token can build furniture in our world, right? So somebody may not be able to chop the wood themselves, so they will buy the wood for the furniture, and then they will basically set up a furniture shop inside of our world. So the person that's now sold the wood now has money, and they may just over and over sell the wood and sell and earn money from doing that. And then they own virtual property where they want to now reinvest into buying furniture for it and furnishing this house so that they can now sell it. That's kind of how it works in it, but it's all owned by them and all could be sold by them on our platform.
I want to ask you a question. I want to talk about owning real estate in Immersys, in a metaverse, and your take on that, and the benefits, and even money flowing into this. I want to kind of finish the conversation there, but let me back up real quick and ask you a question. I'm really curious about the Wax blockchain versus ETA, versus essentially Ethereum, right? The Ethereum blockchain. Is it pronounced Wax?
W-A-X? It is Wax. So it's the World Asset Exchange is what it stands for. But yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So you guys decided to build this on the Wax blockchain. Explain to me, it seemed like Ethereum was kind of the leader, but I'm hearing a lot more about WAX, Wax, why you guys decided to do that, the benefits of that versus, over Ethereum blockchain.
Yeah. So I think there's a lot of reasons that we chose Wax. So obviously, we are looking for as low as we can get as far as fees for transactions. Wax blockchain offers peer-to-peer transactions at no cost. So you can trade assets or real estate at no cost to the chain. So you don't have to pay these gas fees that are on Ethereum. As far as the blockchain itself, it's just going to be able to handle much more transactions. It's also energy efficient and eco-friendly. So you're not, going to have to deal with, the negative connotation of something like a Bitcoin or an Ethereum NFT that's, everybody's coming out and saying it's destroying the environment. So you can bring in these bigger brands. And I think that's why you see things like the top 3 toy manufacturers coming to a blockchain like Wax, and same with AMC. They just released Spider-Man with, a feature of Wax and NFTs. So you're seeing big brands come there. You're also seeing a big focus on the metaverse in Wax. So they've actually just recently kind of changed their narrative in the last 2 months or so to being the #1 metaverse blockchain. So to have the #1 metaverse on the #1 metaverse blockchain is a very nice place to be. They have very easy wallet support. So it's 2 clicks. You get an email, you can use any of your social media accounts, and then you automatically have a wallet set up on their system. And it also already just has this live culture that has adopted NFTs and understands NFTs at a very, deep level. And they already play games. They already understand virtual real estate. There's a lot less teaching that has to go on in the Wax blockchain.
So I think that's where, man, why I love having you on and trying to have this show is because I think for you, and maybe I could be wrong here, but I think for something like for what you're building to really grow at scale, I mean, it's kind of what you just said. I think the biggest barrier is that, like, people in my circle, they think, well, I don't know virtual. I don't want to get into virtual real estate, but I'm starting to see the real benefits of it. But like you just said, I just don't understand. I don't know it. More people understand it. Like, how do we accelerate that? And then how is your platform maybe helping? And I want to talk about, the benefits of owning virtual real estate inside of, Immersys in the metaverse. But, I think that's a big barrier, don't you think, man? Is like a lot of, especially investors. I mean, they're just like, well, I don't know it. I don't want to understand it. I mean, how do we accelerate that so this can actually be a viable investment opportunity?
Yeah. So I think the biggest accelerator for this, well, first off, came in the form of NFTs, and then I think the gamification. So I really do think mass adoption comes in a form of entertainment. And I think if you have virtual land that does provide an entertainment factor, you're more likely to get somebody to understand the technology. For example, I'm not going to go out and just buy, crypto because it's an investment with money that I probably don't have, right? Most people can go day by day without caring about that. But let's say you're going around and you find out your favorite artist or your favorite game maker is now creating a game on a certain platform or blockchain. Now you're going to be like, okay, you know what? Maybe I'll figure out how to get involved with this. You'll set up the wallet. You're making the conscious decision to go in there because it's something that you want to participate in. Right. So I think metaverses that do that best, that provide that entertainment factor, that provide the incentive for somebody to just take the leap rather than having to invest in crypto or invest in real estate or invest in something. just they're doing it from an entertainment perspective. And I think that's what we do is we gamify a world. Like people would play Immersys, even if it had nothing to do with the blockchain and if it had no virtual real estate. We provide entertainment for our players. They come in, and then that's what makes the virtual real estate valuable to people, because then people understand it.
I guess in that regard, I mean, is this do you think this is a multiple decade adoption period for this to really take off, or do you think it can grow faster than that?
So
Because if
I
that's the
think,
case, most of your demographic is going to be younger,
yes,
and most of that younger demographic do not have investment capital.
exactly. So it is this weird, place to be in. Like I'll admit, like we can get a valuation of like 200 million and then the next day be 50 million, right? It's just, that's really just the crypto space. It is kind of volatile, crazy, and you don't really know who you're going to meet that can invest the type of capital that you need, in the space. So you're kind of getting this younger crowd. I think you just have to admit that the crowd is, for the most part, a younger crowd. I feel like the crowd really kind of started getting super into it after like the whole GameStop, fiasco and everything like that, right? Like they were just looking for these investment, opportunities while, the pandemic was going on, and they had the opportunity and the time available to them to look into it. So yeah, I mean, I think there is absolutely just this divide where you do need to get people invested in the idea of decentralization, but I don't think it like happens extremely quickly. I think it becomes faster now that non-fungible tokens are more in the picture. I think people can understand collectibles. I think people can really get drawn in by a love for something that they love in the real world or the physical world. Right. So whether this is your favorite music artist, your favorite TV show decides to release a series in NFTs, like it is going to be that speeds up the adoption. As far as how fast it comes, I don't really know, but I think it does come a lot faster now that the non-fungible token is available to us.
Let me ask you this, man. So I think I understand owning commercial real estate in your metaverse. Like essentially someone can have a store, I can own the building that they have their store in, and essentially the profits that they make off their furniture store, I could get a piece of, or they pay me rent or whatever. Is that kind of correct? So I mean it makes sense. I guess I wanted to go a step further and just ask you, like, do you think this could be something we could crowdfund for, right? Like it gets big enough where, someone has a big store or a conglomerate of stores, and we come in and syndicate it and take it down and, raise money and then pay LP, like actually have investors where, we're paying off returns off that. I mean, is that viable in your metaverse?
Absolutely. I do see it getting to that point. We are taking buildings that we consider our commercial real estate. So you basically purchase the building and then the inside you rent. So if you want to allow somebody else to decorate the whole inside, set up their shop, set up, their website, set up whatever service they provide inside that building, they can do. They're renting it from you and paying you a fee for being inside of there. But then we can also go on a grander scale if we wanted to. We could do malls, right? We can have these much larger properties that could be owned by a massive like entity, and then somebody can come in and basically, buy up the insides of this store. I think you'll also see placement. So the way that we view our shops or our commercial real estate area inside of Immersys is basically Amazon, right? We think of our market district as basically a 3D Amazon. So you will go in there, and if you want shops to do with food, or if you want, household items, or if you want something like that, then the street will basically appear in front of you with the items and interests that you've kind of put in your filters. So then you can go through this 3D experience, see, the items in the store, things that you care about. And in just this weird like experience, essentially, it's hard to explain it without showing you the actual, the world. But yeah, so you can basically think of it as I think of it as a 3D Amazon. Everybody's got their own little shop on Amazon, and they're selling their own products and stuff like that. It's just like a 3D e-commerce website.
What's your usage, man? Like how like for people who aren't on this at all, like how much time do people actually spend in a metaverse type place, walking around? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, and how much have you seen that increase since inception, which has been what, like, I think I saw Q2 of last year maybe is kind of when you actually launched the metaverse. Is that correct?
Yeah, so I think it was a little after that. I think we announced it then, and I think
Okay.
we've been running for about 7 months to give
Okay.
you an idea. So
Sure.
to go from we literally went from nobody to now we see people playing upwards of like 18 hours a day inside of there, and sometimes they're playing the game, sometimes they're going through the shops and things like that. Our average playtime is really about 2 hours and 30 minutes. So you're assuming that's like their time after work. That's their downtime. They're spending, their time that they would be playing either a video game or socializing with friends or hanging out with friends. They're spending that free time inside the metaverse, either trying to earn cryptocurrency by playing the world or interacting with the virtual real estate that's in there, buying things from those shops so that they can equip it to their avatars in the space or
Right.
things like that.
Right. What type of crypto do they earn inside of your metaverse?
Yeah, so they would be earning our token Fate, but the main thing that they're earning are non-fungible tokens. So we give a non-fungible token that can be burned for a fungible token is how it works. It's
Got it.
yeah.
Which
But
then, so if they have those tokens, those are something of value, or the NFT,
correct,
they can sell that NFT or they can trade that NFT. Essentially, that's where the value is being created.
correct. They're earning the value by playing the game, creating progress in the game that they're selling. They're essentially selling progress to other players that don't want to spend the time in the game to get. So
Right.
that's the value that's created, and then they can go spend that value
Which is
in
so interesting,
these.
right? Like you got, I
Yeah,
mean, to think about, the opportunity for maybe someone in, I mean, this is all over the world, man, where people you don't have access to great jobs, or you live in parts of India where you don't, you just can't go get a great high paying job. So maybe you have some extra time and you go in the metaverse and you can earn
yep,
money this way,
yep.
and take advantage of kind of a global economy. I mean, I think that's pretty massive to think about the globalization of opportunity that the metaverse can create when anyone in the world can log on to the metaverse and do this.
Yep. And I think that's a really cool thing is because it's on the blockchain, you can see all of this, right? So in the last 2 months, our players have made over $200,000 just playing inside of the game. And now that's all capital that's earned inside the game that can then be spent in these real
Yeah.
estate,
Yeah.
things. So this is real world value being built just from playing the game that can then also kind of flow through this economy that results
How
in
global
being
is
spent.
your economy right now?
It's pretty global. I mean, we have players from everywhere
Wow.
at this point. Yeah, yeah. I mean, we're pretty small in terms of some of the play to earn games, since we are more of like a 3D, like very like not everybody can play our game, right? We're not a mobile game. We're designing for more of a VR desktop application, more gamer, typical gamer in a
Right.
way. We just see, a potential market for that. So we see roughly we're coming in on about 2,000 unique users a month at this point. So we're seeing a bunch of people come in. Like I think our daily active users is somewhere around like 400 too. So we're seeing, returning people come in, quite frequently. But yeah, so they're coming in, earning from all around the world. And that's the thing about crypto is you can literally start with nothing nowadays because of this play to earn, idea. You can start with no money, start earning your first few cryptos, buy some item in some world that allows you to earn more money somewhere else, and then all of a sudden you're buying virtual real estate in a metaverse that you own and can resell for thousands and thousands of dollars.
Dude, so here's a couple questions for last questions for you. Residential properties. Okay, I understand the
Yes.
commercial real estate
Yeah.
play, and that's why I like having these conversations. I'm like, I'm gonna own some commercial real estate in the metaverse one day, man.
Yeah.
But I don't understand the residential thing yet. So like, I saw that you can buy residential or invest in residential property. Explain to me that.
Yeah. So the logic behind the residential, we obviously don't expect that to be as big and as lucrative as crypto or as a commercial property, but a residential one in our mind is a place for you to showcase your digital assets. So a
Okay.
big thing with NFTs is you're constantly looking for additional use cases for it, or utility, people like to say. So owning a place where it's essentially, I think of residential as more of your social profile, like on a Facebook or somewhere like that. So whereas the commercial property is like Amazon, the residential is more of like your Facebook page, right? You can
Mhm.
post all the things that you've earned, all your achievements. You can design it the way that you want. It's not meant to be, this revenue generating thing. In a way it is, because you're locking up funds in the ownership of the property, so you can resell that, but it's definitely more of a personal take on it. So you can provide, if you want a link tree in there, essentially, where, it takes you to all your social media. You can customize it to the point where, it represents who you are, but it's definitely not I don't see it as being a big play from an investment standpoint as the commercial real
Well, I
estate.
mean, I could see that too. It's like celebrities come and get into this, like, oh, I want to go to Kim Kardashian's house and see what
True.
she has,
True.
displayed, or what's there. I mean, I could see the utility of that, or someone, essentially someone selling that whole residential property with the things inside of it as
Yeah.
value.
And it could be the location in the metaverse as well, right? So if your home base is closer to a place that's important than maybe, another base that's far away from some of the key, points that you would visit in the world, I think positioning, like, I think there's some value that's built based off of locations and who owns it and things like
That's the
that.
question I have for you, man. As a creator of a metaverse, location. Talk to me, because that's is the number one rule in real estate, right? Is location, location, location. But in the metaverse, like, I'm confused on this, because if it's a metaverse, you can kind of get to anywhere you want pretty quickly. Why is location seem to be as important in the metaverse as it is in the regular world as well?
I think from a location standpoint, you're right. I mean, more often than not, you want to gamify the traveling experience, but there may still be fees to travel or get across the land in an efficient way. So I don't foresee it, like, at least in our metaverse, it's not. It takes 10 minutes to get to the other side of the map, right? Like, you're running over there. So if something that you want to participate in or do is 30 seconds run away, and it's more efficient, and it increases your earnings while playing inside the game, it's more efficient to own that property rather than have to make the 10-minute run every single time you come into the game and get to where you want to get to. So positioning matters. I think it depends very much on the metaverse that you're going into, because something like Decentraland, you can just click a link to the coordinates and then spawn right into that particular digital land. It's not the case for us per se. You would spawn into where you own your residential property and then have to navigate out into the world from that property.
Let me ask you this, man. Any examples? I mean, as you guys are raising money for this, I'm curious, just examples of big money, institutional money, capital flowing in. How has it been in raising capital? Give me your take and what you see from an investment standpoint on money flowing into real estate inside the metaverse.
Well, from a real estate standpoint, I think there's a lot of interest. We've submitted, like, our project over to a lot of these websites that we see that are solely investing in this virtual property. I do say, like, from the institutional investor standpoint, I'm seeing a lot less of that and more of these things that are called guilds that are popping up. So these are essentially these decentralized, almost like they manage digital assets, essentially, and they manage millions and millions of dollars of digital assets in different metaverse games and things like that. Those are the people that we see coming to us with the highest offers. I feel like still from a like an institutional investor, you still see like the 250K, maybe on a stretch you might get $1 million if you're lucky type stuff. We really haven't been approaching investors up until maybe 3 weeks ago. So this is something totally new. We've actually been able to bootstrap this entire, project from the ground up because of previous things that we've done. Right. So it's not until now that we're really seeing like or wanting to go ahead and look for investors at this point. The conversations I've had with them so far, I mean, we get crazy valuations for just the entire project and the token, and then to somebody just wanting to invest in the actual property. The property can go anywhere between $100,000 for something in our main plaza to
Is that based on revenue? Like, where's that valuation for that property come from? Based on the revenue that it's earning, or just demand? I mean, how do you determine the valuation of that property?
Yeah, so right now it's more of just based off of the visibility of people coming into the metaverse and the location. Right now, the ones that we have available for sale are kind of in our central plaza that will, that's where people will start the game always. Those are the only ones that we're really selling right now until we get back into releasing the commercial properties. But yeah, so those ones we see, we see people interested at about $100,000, and that's just from a demand standpoint.
And have you sold those properties yet in your metaverse?
So we've sold 10 properties so far inside of our metaverse. Yes.
For,
Yeah.
for a total of
But
what?
so for a total of, well, these were more of like, these are pre-reserved in the commercial property area. So these have all sold for roughly about 2,500 a piece. So
Amazing.
25K.
Cool. That's
Yep.
awesome, man. I mean, it's pretty cool that you build a world, right, that people are buying your real estate in it.
Yeah. And they
Something
own
to,
it though. So I
yeah.
mean they upgrade and design their commercial real estate pretty much all the time. So they're constantly making changes to it. And then as we build out like our streets and our roads and our city, more of those, like the plan that we sort of have in place is we'll kind of periodically release, this digital real estate over, a set time frame. So how fast it's coming in, and
Right.
what the demand is, and what, so you're kind of getting that gauge of how we just treat it like the real world, right? There's new houses being built all the time, right? So that there's new houses and new commercial property that's being built on a set timeline inside of our metaverse. And as it comes in, you kind of have to bid on it. It all gets released in like an auction stand, in an
Yeah.
auction way. So that's why I'm kind of guessing on some of the numbers, but it's all auction based. Everybody buys it based off of demand.
From a broader perspective, the metaverse, not necessarily Immersys. I mean, in terms of big money or capital coming in, do you see more institutional investors interested in this space? And can you kind of brief us on what you see at an industry level in terms of that?
I think more and more people will absolutely be coming into the space for sure. It's just another place to exist, right? So I still think it's heavily oriented towards the marketing standpoint. I think it matters how many people are coming into the world more than anything. I think that's what people care about. How many people are going to see my location? How many people are going to be able to experience it?
Right.
Where's the value? Like that's the value. I think just the fact that like you can have your space closer, to the public, and this audience. I think that's a big thing about decentralization, right? Is the discovery of the brand, and the discovery of decentralization as a whole, right? It's kind of new to people. So metaverses almost function as this direct marketing to an entire audience that is already kind of invested and already interested in the idea of decentralization. So I think the early days of it is, the people that maybe own like, CryptoPunks or like Bored Ape Yacht Club, those are the people that should be buying, real estate in these decentralized worlds, because what they can do is they can advertise their assets, they can advertise their idea, their culture, everything like that to people that are already interested in decentralized worlds. Taking that aspect, that's who you see buying real estate, is people that are already kind of really into the space, that want to advertise their apps or their website or their dApps in a way.
Daniel, this has been awesome, man. Immersys, tell our folks, I mean, where we can go learn more about this, owning real estate in this. I mean, there's a lot of investors going to be listening to this show. Uh, how can we support, man? Where do we go? Tell us a little bit more on that.
Yeah, so the best place to go would be immersys.io. So if you can head over there, you can actually sign up to kind of be put on our notification system for when properties get released. So you can sign up there so that you can, sign up and actually buy it. And then you can follow us on Twitter and Facebook as well. That'll be where we post most of the information. As I said, the properties do come out almost like in a monthly basis. So there's a set amount that goes out each month. You can expect between 10 to 20, depending on how many we're putting out on that specific month. It's kind of varies a little bit, but if you sign up on there, you can sign up and get the notices.
Dude, if you had $1 million of investor capital right now,
Yeah.
how would you go invest it? And the goal was you were looking for yield, right? Like you needed cash flow to live off today, but you really want to see this money grow. What knowing what and and what your expertise at, where would you be investing?
So I do see the metaverse idea being really big. I think short term, this is not financial advice. I love the idea of the play to earn aspect of it. I think there's a lot of money in that. I see value in owning land that is decentralized. I think I would still go some crypto. I think just crypto for me is a little bit more secure, because metaverses are still, finding their way,
Sure.
into the world. So I would pick up land, but I would be focusing more on probably crypto or something like that at this point. I think I need a year or two more to even to buy into it myself.
Sure, as it adopts, as it grows, really
Yeah.
quick. Dude, well, this was awesome, man. I appreciate your time on this and looking forward for folks hearing this episode. So thanks so much.
Absolutely. Thanks so much for having me, Els.
All right, man.